Student journalist Tim Ty was covering the MU demonstrations on Tuesday when protesters and professors demanded he leave. They formed a line and blocked Ty when he tried to take pictures at a public area on campus.
Physically intimidating people who have the right to be there.
There's a publication called the Wesleyan Argus, publishes twice a week. They had an op-ed critical of the Black Lives Matter movement. Uproar, and the student body itself voted to take half the funds away from the Argus, virtually shut it down.
Welcome to Press for Freedom, defending the First Amendment rights of student journalists on college campuses. FIRE defends the freedom of the press of student journalists and media outlets at both public and private colleges across the country. On public college campuses, the First Amendment applies in full to student journalists. On private college campuses, it's really a matter of institutional policy and what the college promises to its students in terms of their speech rights. In terms of funding, student newspapers and media outlets have the same rights to student fee funding as other recognized student organizations, as long as they meet all pertinent requirements for access to such funding. The touchstone inquiry here is viewpoint neutrality. That is to say, the student government or whatever campus body allocates this type of funding must use narrow and viewpoint neutral criteria in allocating funding. It may not use the speech of a student newspaper or of a journalist to deny that media outlet its right to such funding. Recent cases in which FIRE has intervened include our case in 2015 at the University of Tulsa. Though a private institution, the University of Tulsa promises full free speech rights to its students. In this case, we defended the rights of the Collegian, an independent student newspaper which had reported on the university's treatment of student George Trey Barnett, whom FIRE had also defended for infringement of his free speech and due process rights.
My college wanted the student newspaper to self-censor its coverage of a disciplinary proceeding. There were moments where we definitely thought that there was an existential threat to the paper, that if we were to do something that displeased the powers that be, there was the possibility that the Collegian could vanish from the face of the earth, because the school funds the paper. It was important to us to make those things known and to give people an opportunity to learn about the dark, shadowy corners of their school that they're not exposed to because administrators don't want people to know what's going on.
Similarly, in 2014, FIRE defended the rights of the Sun-Star, an independent student newspaper at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, a public institution fully bound by the First Amendment. The Sun-Star faced nearly a year-long of investigation simply for 2 fully protected articles and faced allegations of sexual harassment. The first was a satirical article for its April Fool's issue, and the second was an investigative report about alleged hate speech committed online by University of Alaska Fairbanks students.
There needs to be like that level of accountability, and it's not just like us writing about what administrators want students to know, like events or things like that. We write about what students need to know.
FIRE intervened in this matter and finally was able to convince the University of Alaska Fairbanks administration to drop these charges against the Sun-Star.
I really appreciate FIRE really working hard and really supporting us and writing that letter to the chancellor. That was awesome. And it was just really refreshing for someone to call and say, hey, we want to hear your side.